and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Tonight we are having the swearing in of the 3 new elected officials, which continues on as Councilman Polika and Councilwoman Mikulski and myself. And our city charter has us be sworn in the first meeting of the year. And tonight we are starting a new tradition and kicking off our inauguration with an invocation by Ferndale High School student Kamari Ray. And Kamari, if you want to come up to the podium, I asked the high school to find us a theater student who would be willing to read a poem to commemorate tonight's swearing-in proceedings. So welcome, Kamari. We're so glad you're here. Can you tell us the name of the poem and who it's by? And then you may start.
It's called On the Pulse of Morning, and it's by Maya Angelou. I'm not going to read the whole poem.
And if you can project your voice, too, into the microphone as well.
Yet today I call you to my riverside. If you will study war no more, come clad in peace, and I will sing the songs the Creator gave to me when I and the tree and the rock were one. Before cynicism was bloody, sear across your brow, and when you yet knew you, still knew nothing. The river sang and sings on. There is a true yearning to respond to the singing river and the wise rock. So say the Asian, the Hispanic, the Jew, the African, the Native American, the Sioux, the Catholic, the Muslim, the French, the Greek, the Irish, the rabbi, the priest, the sheik, the gay, the straight, the preacher, the privileged, the homeless, the teacher. They all hear, the speaking of the tree. They hear the first and last of every tree. Speak to humankind today. Come to me here beside the river. Plant yourself beside the river. Each of you, descendant of some passed on traveler, has been paid for you, who gave me my first name. You Pawnee, Apache, Seneca, you Cherokee Nation, you who rested with me, then forced on bloody feet, left me to the employment of others, seekers, desperate for gain, starving for gold. You, the Turk, the Arab, the Swede, the German, the Eskimo, the Scot, you, the Ashanti, the Yoruba, the Crew, bought, sold, stolen, arriving on the nightmare, praying for a dream. Here, root yourselves beside me. I am that tree planted by the river, which will not be moved. I, the rock, I, the river, I, the tree, I am yours. Your passages have been paid. Lift up your faces, you have a piercing need for this bought morning dawning for you. History, despite its wretching pain, cannot be unlived, but if faced with courage, need not to be lived again. Lift up your eyes upon this day breaking for you. Give birth again to this dream. Women, children, men, take it into the palms of your hands, mold it into the shape of your most private need, sculpt it into the image of your most public self. Lift up your hearts. Each new hour holds new chances for a new beginning. Do not wedded forever to fear yoked eternally, to brutishness. The horizon leans forward, offering you space, place new steps of change.
Thank you very much. All right, Madam Clerk, I think you're going to help with the next 2 items on the agenda.
Yes, thank you so much. We have tonight Judge Joseph Longo of the 43rd District Court, who is here to provide the swearing in for Mayor Piana and council members Mikulski and Polika. He will read the oaths, and then we will call the roll of the 48th Ferndale City Council.
Excellent. And I think one at a time has been our tradition.
Yes, it has. So, who would like to be first?
I'll go first. And just everybody to know, we're still in hybrid meetings. We still have folks with COVID, and we're distancing as much as possible tonight where we can.
Hear my voice no matter what. You raise your right hand. You, Melanie Piana, solemnly swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of this state, and the Charter of the City of Ferndale. You will faithfully discharge the duties of mayor in and for the City of Ferndale, County of Oakland, State of Michigan, to the best of your ability. Congratulations, Mayor.
Thank you.
Or, did you want to go next?
Sure.
You, Wilmer Mikulski, solemnly swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States, the Charter of the City of Ferndale, that you will faithfully discharge the duties of council member in and for the City of Ferndale, County of Oakland, and State of Michigan. Congratulations. You, Greg Pollica, solemnly swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of this state, and the Charter of the City of Ferndale, that you will faithfully discharge the duties of council member in and for the City of Ferndale, County of Oakland, State of Michigan, to the best of your ability. Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here and swearing in.
Nice seeing you all without plexiglass around.
Yes.
Have a good evening.
Thank you, Judge.
Take care. Take care. All right. Next up is the roll call of the 48th Ferndale City Council. Madam Clerk.
Councilmember James.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Leaks May. Councilmember Mikulski.
Oh, I just wanted to say we'd like an excused absence for Mayor Pro Tem Leaks May tonight. She has, she just is unable to make it tonight due to some illness. So who is next?
Councilmember Mikulski.
Here.
Councilmember Pollica.
Here.
And Mayor Piana.
Here. All right, next up is the approval of the agenda.
I move to approve the agenda as printed.
Support.
Moved by James and supported by Pollica. Madam Clerk.
Councilmember James.
Yes.
Councilmember Mikulski.
Yes.
Councilmember Pollica.
Yes.
And Mayor Piana.
Yes. All right, next up is just a mention of electronic meeting procedures. We went over this in December before the end of the year. Unfortunately, the Open Meeting Act legislation was not extended past December 31st that allows public officials to attend in a hybrid mode. However, City Council extended till the end of March 31st a resolution to allow hybrid meetings for the public as well as for staff. I know our elected officials in the Michigan legislature are working very hard to see if there's any progress that can be made to amend the Open Meetings Act again to get us through this fourth wave of COVID. So stay tuned. See if anything changes. Okay, next up is presentations. And tonight we have presentation of the DDA of Best in Snow, the window decorating contest winners. And I believe introducing that and presenting that is our DDA Director, Lena Stevens.
That is right. Can you hear me okay?
You're a little quiet.
Oh, shoot. I don't know if I can do much about that. I can get closer to my mic. Is that better?
We are speakers.
You just got closer, so it's a little bit better.
Okay, all right. I will do my best to keep it kind of short. I apologize for that. I'm using new equipment, I guess. Okay, I am going to get this in full screen mode. Really quickly, we just wanted to thank some of the businesses in downtown and beyond downtown who took a little extra time to decorate for the holidays. It was a tough holiday season staff-wise. So we were really grateful to have businesses participate in our second annual Best in Snow. For those of you who don't know, we started doing this last year, and it was so popular that we brought it back. We actually had over 550 votes this year, which is wonderful. It was shared by lots of businesses. It was a great hook for, come on down or vote virtually if that's, what you feel safer with. So we had 4 categories, and we picked one winner in downtown and one winner from beyond in all of our categories. So Best in Snow is our hands down best overall display of holiday spirit, and that goes to Level 1 Bake. And for outside of downtown, we have Candace Ecton's State Farm. Then we have the Clark Griswold Award, which is the most over-the-top display. And downtown, we have Hook and Eye with Frosty the Snowman. Very cute, always love a pun. I'm a sucker for a pun. And beyond, we have Ferndale's Salon, which was lit up, just absolutely gorgeous, so fun, very eye-catching as you go down Woodward, so love that one. Santa's Workshop is our best window shopping display, and it is no surprise that in downtown, Margot and Max again takes the first place for retail displays. They just have their window game on point, I have to say. And beyond, we have Blooms by JR Designs. They actually decorated the window of the building that they are no longer occupying, which we felt was very nice, especially because it would have just been, a blank window. So just to add that little extra bit of light, that little bit of pop of holiday spirit was just really, really nice in that window. And last, but certainly not least, we have Eat, Drink, and Be Merry, which was the most festive outdoor dining or carry-out experience. And downtown, we have the Asaji Bistro, and beyond, we have New Way Bar with their adorable classic vintage Santa and reindeer up there on top of the bar. So we are just grateful to everybody who participated. There was a lot of interest in who was going to win. So we were really grateful for lots of events around the holiday times that were great and added a little bit of energy to downtown in the hard times. So thank you so much for just a few minutes of your time so I could present this. We did invite the businesses to be here, so they might be in the audience, but in the interest of time, we're not inviting them to speak, but some of them might be here.
All right, excellent. Thank you so much. Wonderful displays. I loved your marketing on this program. It was a lot of fun, and I'm so glad our downtown businesses participate to make the experience shopping in our downtown a little bit more enjoyable and a little bit more fun.
Oh, I appreciate that so much. Thank you.
All right, moving on to our second presentation tonight is the presentation introducing an electric vehicle stimulus program for local governments by AAW Infrastructure Partners at the invitation of the city manager. And our city manager will be doing a presentation for council for consideration.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll provide a brief introduction. As you know, City Council included an 8th strategic factor for our strategic plan that does cover climate resilience. Part of that is doing what's possible to accelerate the pace of electrification of city fleet and support of electric infrastructure. I've had several meetings with the gentleman I'm about to introduce, which is Tom Wither of AAW Infrastructure. And Tom has created a program with the direct purpose of trying to accelerate local government's pace of electrification through his program. And I will allow Tom to introduce his own program and to share a video clip and take questions of council this evening. With that, Tom.
Thank you, Tom, and welcome. Thanks for being here tonight.
Well, thanks for the invite. I sure appreciate that. I'm sorry, Joe.
Our video's on, and then when you're ready.
Back to the attendant. Okay. Yeah, thank you for the invitation. And as Joe mentioned, we've talked several times about this program. Greg, you sat in on one of those presentations, and appreciate that. We have an initiative here in the state to help our cities transition over to electric vehicles. And of course, if you have electric vehicles, you need charging stations. So we've designed a program that allows us to, or rather allows you to allow us to do all the heavy lifting and work, providing the expertise on making that transition to electrics. And wonderfully, we've come up with a means of helping to fund that at no cost to your taxpayers. And I'm going to show a video here, our Dearborn, Michigan launch, and it's only 1 minute, and then I'll fill in some of the blanks. But I think this will give you a real quick overview of what we want to do.
Fox 2 News at 5 starts now.
Dearborn putting a charge into its fleet of city vehicles. They're teaming up with AAW Infrastructure to buy electric cars. The company will pay the difference that electric vehicles cost over cars with gasoline engines. The savings in fuel will then be used to subsidize on-demand rides like Lyft and Uber. Dearborn is only the start. AAW Infrastructure wants to take this initiative statewide.
There's no financial penalty in it for them to participate in the program, and it's a painless way to go to electric vehicles. And then it also becomes a no-conflict means of helping to improve regional transit in southeastern Michigan. That's local.
The plan also includes installing EV charging stations. To help raise money, the company will offer digital coupons to local businesses made available to every household in the city.
So, just to give you a quick overview here, as
school leaders across Michigan say they are in crisis. The pandemic leading to a surge in absences, and now schools are struggling.
Thank you for being there. So, yeah, we as the video showed, and as I mentioned, we are subsidizing the extra cost. Right now, they're more expensive than ICE, internal combustion engine vehicles. So we feel that if we can help the cities buy electrics for the same price as gas, that they'll make the transition over, along with providing expertise and guidance. So we do this, and really, it's a multifaceted program. It's the core of our motto. Also, sustainably helps support local businesses, as we know. First with shopping centers, then big box stores, and now the online shopping and COVID is causing havoc among small businesses. So our program calls for raising money partially from those small businesses with a very affordable, democratized digital advertising product, and we call them EV ponds. And it's ponds is the Greek for bridge, so we consider these to be a bridge to advancing electrification, improving mobility, and reducing carbon emissions, which is really the core of everything that we're doing here. This is a completely carbon-free program. We offer coupons to your city businesses, but as you see here, we have some very large brands that participate: AK Steel, Henry Ford, ITC. So NECA IBEW is a big supporter of our work. And so what we're able to do is it's a hybrid sponsoring and advertising product, these EV ponds. The smaller businesses will use them again as an affordable means of helping to increase their business. But the larger brands are using it as a sponsorship type product. And that makes, because they pay more money and get extra benefits for that, that allows us and you to be able to help support your small business community and help them grow their businesses. We also, right here in Michigan, of course, we live or die by what happens with the automobile industry. Stellantis just announced over the week or at the end of last week, they are joining Ford and General Motors in huge betting the farm commitments on going electrics. And wonderfully, I don't know if you heard about it, but the electric brand for Stellantis will be the old Chrysler brand. They're trying to rejuvenate that brand, which I think is really kind of neat. So, but it's very important that we support our automobile industry. Cities have fleets of vehicles, which are early sales for the autos makers as they come out with product. And because of the well-known travel distances that city vehicles have, there's no range anxiety or anything like that to worry about. So it's an early adopter market, if you will, for our autos and help support them. We sustainably improve mobility too. Wherever possible, the money that we raise, and I'll explain that in just a minute, has to be used to advance electrification. But we also have another mission here, and we're encouraging our cities to do this. Since you're not putting gasoline in the vehicles any longer, electrics are much cheaper to operate. So you can use the fuel savings to provide mobility on demand rides, Lyft, Uber type rides for many of your transit challenged residents so that they can get, and again, this is an EV mobility and economic stimulus program. Our whole idea is to also help, besides going to electric vehicles, also help improve the economies of cities. And of course, if you're helping the businesses, that's one thing, and that's good. But also, we have a lot of people, and we've had a problem for years with trying to do anything about regional transit. So every city individually wins with the program. And if we collectively start utilizing the fuel savings of the electrics, we can provide mobility on demand rides for many of the transit challenged residents we have to get to shopping and to businesses that maybe aren't able to do that right now, medical appointments and everything else. As I mentioned, it's all about helping clean up the air. These are very dramatic photos when Los Angeles was shut down within 2 weeks. Before and after picture once we got the gas guzzlers off the road, if you will. So by going electric, this is a very great way of helping to protect the environment. So as I said, many, many facets to the program. Basically what we do is offer the EV ponds to businesses, large organizations to support us, nonprofits. We have churches. We donate 60% of the yearly revenue that we generate to your EV program. That money has to be used to purchase EVs and charging stations. Also, we have a carbon offset when you're charging the electrics. X number, it's an easy mathematical formula to figure out how many LED lights have to be installed to reduce the charging of that electric vehicle. So it's a carbon neutral charging program, which again is very important to our utilities. Wonderfully, I'm an old hand at this. 28 years ago, I invented a bidirectional vertical axis wind turbine. And so I've been doing this for years, but I never thought I'd hear the day where the utilities were actually desperately trying to reduce their carbon emissions. So we've designed this to be completely carbon neutral, so it also helps DTE and CMS accomplish these wonderful goals while allowing them to get what they want, which is electric vehicles. Of course, there's an incentive for them to do that. We donate the money to your EV program, and then if feasible, again, we're asking, and we'll promote this, and we'll be able to determine every year how much your fuel savings was, and to donate that money for Lyft, Uber. There's another company in Dearborn that's doing a gangbuster job called Zoom Rides that has a lot of safety procedures and everything that Zoom and Uber don't. Also, they buy carbon offsets for all the miles that are driven. Again, this will be a completely carbon neutral program. So assuming here, and this would take a couple of years to build up to this amount, we start out at $200 minimum advertising sponsorship fee for the smallest business or startup in your city that wants to get a digital presence. We incidentally too promote this through all of your civic organizations, homeowners associations, school district, letting them know that there's coupons like Groupon where they can save money, but and help support local businesses, but additionally will help support the city and help protect the environment too. So, assuming this, we right now have a limit of 1,095 units. We can get into that if you want, but just bear with me on this, if you will. 60% of the $200 that we raise on 1,095 units would be $131,400 per year gross. We use 7% of the program funding that comes in for promotional purposes, signage, take-ones. We have a treasure hunt game, it's an AverGaming, where players have to go to the digital coupons down here. So for instance, ITC, they aren't offering any discounts like Lapita Restaurant, for instance, but the cute clue of the day may be what's the last 4 digits of ITC's phone number, so that we will get visitors' eyeballs for our brands to go to those. So all in all, that would be the maximum amount that would be deducted from your program every year. You would have then $122,200 that could be used for paying that EV premium, which will dissipate over time. So we'll be able to do other things with this too, and then provide for EV charging stations and LED lights or carbon offsets to make it a completely carbon neutral program. We also have, this is a window of opportunity that's going to be over probably 5 and 6 years where the electrics will be the same price as ICE. So you won't have to use the money for that. But then we will switch over, and we also have CO2 ponds, which you can use for any useful purpose to reduce your carbon emissions. And Joe brought up the fact that your parking deck was wired for solar, but you don't have any solar arrays because the funds weren't there. This will allow you to make that investment or help subsidize that investment. Also, the money that can be used, again, to support electrics, the Biden-Harris Electric Vehicle Charging Action Plan was just announced. We're still getting details on it, but they're offering $2.5 billion over the next few years. It's a competitive grant that will support innovative approaches to helping to advance electrifications. We feel this program will help you qualify for competitive grants. MEDC, the Office of Future Mobility and Electrification / MEDC will also, from the state here, will also have monies coming up to help purchase electrics, to install charging stations. So having an established EV program in Ferndale, plus not only helping you to pay for this and make the matching grant money, will give you a competitive edge over other cities in the state and around the nation, we feel. So just real quickly, that's what we are doing, and we'd love to have Ferndale's participation in this effort.
Thank you so much, Tom, for your presentation. Are there any questions from council about this program?
Not at the moment.
I don't have any questions either. I know we're looking at very creative ways of trying to increase our EV infrastructure here. And I like your positioning of being more eligible for future grants. I think we're always trying to figure out how to do that here in Ferndale. And Joe, is this something do you have any comments or comments about next steps, or what you think the city needs to look at more deeply in order to bring this back to council for approval to move forward?
Yeah, sure, Mayor. There is a participation agreement that they have that's standard. I've received that, but before we moved on to that next step, I was looking for the easiest way to present kind of a complex, unique program to City Council all at once, and this seemed to be the best way to do that, rather to have me butcher the explanation to you one-on-one. So that's been presented. So we have also included the DDA and our small business team. I'm looking for feedback on them with introducing a new advertising initiative at this time. So there's a question of timing on the business side, but I think we can probably do it with their blessing. I think I'm supportive of the program. I think it's an out-of-the-box way that we have to be thinking in order to achieve some of our more strategic, ambitious goals. And as long as the businesses are engaged with on the front end, I feel mostly positive about it.
And when did Dearborn launch their program?
August of 2019. And within 4 months, we raised $28,000, and then we get 20. That kind of upset our plans a little bit. So, but it's operating again. Of course, we're back in the soup again. It's not there. Westland is also gone with the program. Next Monday, Inkster will be Roseville. We have a half a dozen cities that are in the process, such as hopefully Ferndale, that's going to be moving forward.
And do you do all of the marketing to the small businesses? It's not a strain on our DDA to do a lot of that outreach?
No,
and can you go to the microphone, please? I'm sorry.
Yes, we do all that, Mayor, and all the heavy lifting, all the work. And I talked with Lena about that, and she and Jordan also suggested that perhaps we could work together with the Ferndale Dollars in some fashion, but we will always do all the work for you. And plus, we bring some of the larger brands, ITC, Henry Ford House, those, not just your local businesses, but we do all the work for you there too. We raise all the money, do all the work, and we also provide expertise. We work with the Electrification Coalition. It's a Michael Bloomberg nonprofit that's set up to help cities move into electrics. We also work with the Climate Mayors Purchasing Collaborative, which will allow you to buy electric vehicles, charging stations at a bulk rate kind of a thing. So we want to make this a turnkey program to help the cities move forward with electrics as soon as possible and as easily as possible.
Excellent. Thank you for the follow-up answers to my questions. Well, I don't think we have any other questions from council, but we'll be following up with our city manager and giving him some feedback and figuring out how and when to proceed.
Okay, great. It's a one-page MOU is what we have to work with. Very simple. It just spells out, how we're going to raise money and what you're going to do with that money. It'll have to be for electric. So it's a very simple, non-complex.
Excellent. Well, thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you for your time, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, we're moving on to our third and final presentation tonight, which is an update by our Oakland County Commissioner, Charlie Cavell. Charlie, Happy New Year and welcome to our first council meeting of the year.
Happy New Year. Congratulations on the inauguration.
Thank you.
What an interesting concept we were just listening to, huh?
Absolutely.
So here's the quick update on what the Oakland County's been doing the last month. So first I'll tell you a little bit about COVID because we are definitely in the midst of a surge. Second, I'll tell you what the commission has done, and then kind of a request for everyone that's listening, especially mayor and council. So first, COVID. I think we've all kind of seen in the news by now and understand pretty clearly that even though Omicron may be a less deadly virus or something that is something that's less deadly, that doesn't mean that hospitalizations or the spread of it hurts our community less. So as you can see from the news, but one thing I'll tell you is Beaumont Hospital, just for example, 2 weeks ago had 563 COVID patients in their ICU, and they now have 857 COVID patients in their ICU. So again, the transmission is high, and then that means that even if it is a less deadly variant, it is still something that is extremely contagious and can hurt us very badly. So please be mindful of that. As such, Oakland County has responded because Oakland County government is running the COVID response. We have expanded testing sites, and if you have any questions about that, please feel free to call me. I can give my info to the clerk, and also feel free to make appointments with Oakland County to get testing or vaccinations or find information about how we can respond to COVID or how you can stay safe by calling 800-848-5533. That's 848-5533. So that's COVID. The commission in December, we had one board meeting and we passed body-worn cameras. So the 1,200 plus Oakland County sheriffs that run the jail and do road patrol for about 500,000 people in Oakland County will be wearing body cameras by the end of next year. So that's a big deal. Second thing, we created a mental health treatment court. That was something that I and our team championed and spent a year working with judges in both locally and countywide to expand. So we're going to be having a mental health treatment court, which is a way to divert people with mental health concerns from serving jail time and getting the treatment that they need. The last thing, which is kind of the request to all of you and everyone listening, is the county is starting to think more about mental health and the intersection of criminal justice, seniors, and youth as relates to mental health. We're trying to figure some stuff out, and we've been kind of going around trying to think what we can do substantively and long term. It just seems like this is a nagging, consistent issue that is only exasperating. So would love to talk to anyone and everyone who has insight or perspective on mental health as it relates to criminal justice, seniors, and young people.
Excellent.
Yep.
Thank you so much for the update on COVID. I will be talking a little bit about it during our call to council. Nice cat. And I always like cat shows in my city council meetings. So just appreciate you being here and giving us an update. All right. With that, we will see you later, Commissioner Cavell. All right. That completes our section on presentations, and we're now moving to call to audience, and we do the hybrid model. We take comments from the city council chambers, and then we'll take comments from our hand raisers on Zoom. And I will let you know there is no one in the city council chambers here to give public comment. So we're going to just transition right over to, right? Yes. Just,
That's me.
oh, sorry. Sorry. Denicia will be taking over and managing our hand raisers on Zoom.
Yep, so we have our first hand raiser, Jason McCaffrey. You can go ahead and speak when you're ready.
Hi, Jason. Happy New Year. It's good to hear your voice.
Hi, City Council. Hi, Mayor. Congrats on the inauguration and Happy New Year.
Thank you.
So I just wanted to chime in tonight to talk about the short-term rental ordinance and my experience with it now that it's been in place for a couple months.
Excellent.
And it's been pretty good for the most part. I've noticed a definite downtick in incidents that we would have had problems with in the past. I don't know exactly how the ordinance is doing what it's doing, but it has seemed to have stopped most of the parties and just disruption that we've experienced. That's the good side. The bad side is, or like area for growth, we'll say, is the reporting is still not really in place. It's got the Emily Loomis's phone number is still on the website as how we're supposed to report. And we were told that the Ferndale Police Department non-emergency number is aware of the ordinance and we're supposed to just call non-emergency. And I did have an incident last night and I tried that and the police had no idea what I was talking about. So that's not exactly in place. And there was a party yesterday and it's just a little frustrating because there's no way for that to have become a substantiated incident because the reporting's not there. So that's just the frustration I wanted to express. I did text the homeowner at 8:09 p.m. about the party and she responded to me at 10:10 a.m. this morning. So not very helpful. So that's all I have to say about that.
Thank you so much for chiming in tonight and giving an update about your experience. It was very helpful, and I know our city manager is going to look into the kink in the system that you just mentioned, and we'll figure it out and make improvements there. Okay?
Jason, we will review the issue and we will be following up with you within 48 hours.
Awesome. Who's next for public comment tonight?
We have Evelyn Elster. You can go ahead and speak when you're ready.
Happy New Year, Evelyn.
Happy New Year to you. I'm going to try to be as nice as I possibly can about this. Really. Over the past decade, you have exhibited the financial management skills of teenagers at the mall. essentially spending mommy and daddy taxpayers' money buying friends and vanity project lipsticks for a pig that now requires a liver transplant due to neglect and lack of maintenance. Just like teenagers, you have the audacity to boldly tell us you have blown the wad we've already given you and expect another wad in the form of yet another Headley override millage. Although over 40% of properties in Ferndale have changed hands since 2015, greatly increasing tax revenue, along with a huge windfall from the new marijuana industry, you tell us we won't make it without another wad of tax dollars to now repair and maintain the buildings you have so willfully neglected. A huge portion of the funds you say are needed are for aesthetics and facades and interiors, which tells us your priorities have not changed one iota. We have had a facilities manager for 2 years now, but no one noticed the boiler room roof at the Cullick Center had no gutter. An outside contractor also had to be hired to give an assessment of the buildings. Would that not be the job of the facilities manager we hired? Who was responsible for the municipal buildings maintenance before Mr. Jameson? Are all of these contractors and consultants hired so those who should be held accountable can have an excuse not to be? This is yet another in a long line of costly fails. I have been unable to get through to you for over a decade now. I hope someone can snap you into responsible adult behavior before this city is bankrupted and we need an emergency manager. Then again, that may be the best thing for us, as what we have now surely is not rational or logical. You all took an oath. If you are unable or unwilling to be the good stewards we thought we elected, please step down. Don't think I'm any more insulting to you than you have been to the citizens of this city. Thank you, I'm done.
Thank you for your descriptive comment. Next, public comment, please.
Next, we have Eliza Webb. You can go ahead and speak when you're ready.
Happy New Year, Eliza. Welcome to our meeting.
Happy New Year. Thank you. Happy New Year to you. My name is Eliza Webb, and I'm here this evening representing FIN, the Ferndale Inclusion Network. And while I know the members of council are familiar with FIN's work over the last 5 years, for those who may not know us, FIN is the only community organization whose mission is to create a just and racially equitable Ferndale that embodies a culture of inclusion and belonging for all. Toward that mission, we have most recently held events to unpack the city's commitment to anti-racism, to unpack our public school statement of racism as a public health crisis, and to examine racial equity, zoning, and Ferndale's land use plan. I mention these events, a small sample of our work, to say that we at FIN recognize that having courageous conversations to acknowledge how racism shows up in our systems is a critical step toward creating a truly equitable and just community. The purpose of my comments this evening is to address a unique opportunity that the Community Foundation for Southeast Michigan has presented to our community here in Ferndale. We understand that the city of Ferndale has been invited by the Community Foundation to apply for a grant to develop community-driven, substantive, and pragmatic changes in the way that policing and public safety services are provided. FIN was also approached by the foundation to join the city on this application. This grant is very exciting, and it's specifically designed to bring community organizations like FIN together in collaboration with city government to jointly explore and address systemic inequities in policing and public safety. We believe that the Community Foundation recognized something truly special about our town. Number one, a city council that has made a serious commitment to racial equity, and two, an active, dedicated, community-run organization whose sole mission is to create a racially just Ferndale. Very few municipalities are as well poised as Ferndale to have two such distinctive groups of community members focused on a single mission to create a racially equitable town. So I'm here this evening representing Finn to let the City Council know that Finn welcomes this opportunity to work together with the city on this joint endeavor, and we believe that a partnership between the city and Finn, financially supported through this Community Foundation grant, could result in Ferndale becoming a shining example in our region for how community-driven projects could build change in creating new models of policing and public safety. We believe that with our combined desires to foster equity, our collective yet unique experiences and histories within our own community, and our shared commitment to create a Ferndale that welcomes, respects, and celebrates all, we really believe this partnership will have extraordinary and community-changing results. We know that this is not easy work. We recognize it can be difficult and challenging, but we also know if we work together, we will be successful. So thank you for your time, and we look forward to hearing from the council about this opportunity to partner on the grant and to future conversations and collaborations.
Thank you, Eliza.
No more hand raisers.
All right. So we have no more hand raisers for public comment, and so we are going to move on to our consent agenda, and I will read the items here and leave it up to council to make their decision on what they would like to do. All right, 8A, approval of minutes of the December 2021 regular council meetings. 8B, approval to submit assistant to firefighters grant application to seek funding for purchase of fire engine for a total cost of $645,000. 8C, approval to submit application for grant funds distributed via the Oakland County Park Improvements Grant and receive up to $100,000 with a 25% match to be deducted from the park's capital outlay 101-750-977, and authorization for the city clerk to sign the required resolution. 8D, approval of contract with ANCO Consulting for investment performance monitoring and advisory service for the city's 401A defined contribution and 457 retirement plans, and further authorization for the expenditure not to exceed $6,250 for analysis investment vendor procurement from account 101-270-818, and authorization of the HR director to execute this agreement. 8E, approval to backfill the community economic development director position and enter into an agreement with GovHR to conduct a national search for our next CED director at a cost not to exceed $21,000. 8F, approval of the bills and payrolls as submitted by the city manager's office and subject to review by the council finance committee. What is the pleasure of council on this item?
I move that we accept the consent agenda. Oh no, that's not what the...
That is the consent agenda.
Oh yes, I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second. Moved by Polika, supported by James. Madam Clerk.
Councilmember Mikulski?
Yes.
Councilmember Polika?
Yes.
Councilmember James?
Yes.
And Mayor Piana?
Yes. All right, that concludes the consent agenda item on the agenda, and we're moving on to the regular agenda. First up is, and the only item up, is 9A, consideration of resolution that establishes a citizen advisory task force on city facilities. And introducing this is...
Thank you, Mayor. I'll introduce this. Please give me one moment. Go. Okay, Mayor and Council, I am here to give you just an overview of the resolution that is attached in the report. In the report, you'll also find a memo to me and a presentation that was given during a special session of City Council on December 2nd, and is also provided in the city's website. On December 2nd, we did provide Council with a facilities condition assessment workshop. What that really is just the result of the comprehensive report that was conducted by Bureau Veritas LLC, who did a thorough multi-point inspection of 10 city facilities. The presentation really focused on our 5 primary facilities as being the significant cost drivers. Really, and this is just a bottom line up front kind of message, the report demonstrates the age of the majority of city facilities being between 60 and 100 years old. The report also provided an inventory of building equipment, which is important. That's the infrastructure that supports the facilities that also should be on replacement schedules. So we have a good, positive, data-driven inventory of that now. It gives you a cost forecast for 10 to 20 years for repair and replacements, and it gives you a prioritization basis for those repairs. We focused on the minimum 5-year capital repair replacement forecast of $7.5 million. That's a significant figure in terms of as a proportion of tax base. This is just a poll of the summary from that workshop. I thought that would be helpful to kind of reorient the public and city council with the primary data set where the focus of those 5 buildings that were reviewed by facilities manager James Jameson. You'll notice the 5-year R&M, which is repair and maintenance estimate for the 5 buildings are on the top row, and that's indexed against the modern replacement value to give you an idea of what the FCI score is, and that's the Facilities Condition Index, which just kind of gives you a red light, yellow light, green light in terms of how you would view reinvestment and repair in all city facilities. It's a common industry standard for making decisions. At the conclusion of that presentation, we really wanted to step back and focus on the idea of facilities being a wicked problem that is difficult. So in the center of that orbit, you have the $7.5 million of 5-year capital assets that have been identified through the data. And in orbit around that, you have challenges with the Headley millages has been identified this evening. We have city council equity objectives for city facilities and just city that are embedded in city cultural values and the way we operate and approach our work. We have sustainability objectives, which we touched on a little bit tonight, but council is in the process of adopting its first climate action plan, which I would presume will include and incorporate facility improvements as an opportunity to reduce our greenhouse gas impact. And then, of course, how do we repair all these? So all these questions, these wicked problems loom around the financial constraints, which is a similar constraint faced by most local governments of comparable size. So we laid out questions, kind of open-ended questions and open-ended possibilities in the right margin. Really, I'd like to step back and say the focus here is on opportunity and possibility, less on constraint. So the recommendations at the conclusion of that meeting really want to focus in on establishing a citizen-led mayoral task force, which would be hopefully pulled together by March 2022. And along with that, we have a snippet of what the conclusion of that process should look like. It should seek to minimize impact on taxpayers. It will maximize climate resiliency impacts, and will focus on addressing equity and accessibility standards across all city facilities where possible. So the resolution that's put together for council's consideration tonight really provides an outline of the size and scope of work that the task force will undertake. This has all been reviewed and provided in a memo that supports the resolution of the council. So it was consistent that a sufficient size of a board would be 7 to 9 members. We do want to focus on making sure that we attract broad perspective, but also have a board that is flexible enough to make quorum across the period of the task force. The task force scope really is to fundamentally review all of the data and help in conjunction with staff and help us determine what the priorities are in terms of repairing and replacement facilities, and to consider all of the opportunities on the board. And all that should come down into a final report with recommendations that should feed a long-term facility plan that staff will be responsible for developing, not the task force. On priorities, there's really 3 points, and this was identified in the packet as well. We have the data. We want to make sure that any recommendations recommendations are based on the data, so we're going to be as objective as possible. Priorities we should try to maximize cost benefit of city facilities against minimal disruptions on the Ferndale taxpayer. So that suggests we have to, think out of the box and think abstractly and look at opportunity first. And then, of course, we always focus on alignment here, and we are aligned around City Council's strategic plan and the success factors that you've laid out, as well as your mission and our cultural values. And through that, we will seek to maximize impact on sustainability, accessibility, equity, and affordability, all four being guiding principles of City Council's strategic plan. The task force roles are just summarized here. We envision a chairperson, a vice chair to support that chairperson should they not be able to attend, and then the role of a typical member. The application will call out an opportunity for anyone who's interested in taking a leadership position to just check the box for that interest, and that will be followed up with. Preferred applicant experience. This is this kind of menu of competencies considers a lot of feedback from council and staff. So this is just kind of an example of the specialists we're looking for, the talent in the community that can contribute positively to this task force and help us deliver a good final recommendation. We have a pretty good array of industry experience right here. And so this will also be called out in the application and in the story promoting the application for residents. The application process, we'd like to open up the process through the city's website, and of course we'll have applications available for those who want to come into City Hall and print. That'll be available in our lobby, and our customer service staff will be able to attend to that. I'd like that to open tomorrow, and we will close February 1st. And if we are successful in doing that, we can refer applicants to the mayor for appointment and consideration by council at the February 14th City Council meeting. Of course, we have a fallback date at the second meeting in February as well. Ultimately, our goal is to convene the task force for the first time in March so we can create a project management plan and a project meeting plan with the chair and vice chair. The application, or the project timeline, which I actually didn't mention in the presentation, is at this time slated to, the task force should be working between March and August of 2022. So that's about 5 months, and we will be looking to expect for 2 evening meetings per month. The time and place and nature of those meetings are subject to input from the chair, vice chair, and the rest of the board as well. So we would delay details on that until we have a better idea of the task force's will. With that, the online application will be available at just ferndale.mi.gov, the city's website. Our communications director may be able to provide more specific information and call the council about the release tomorrow. And then, of course, print application is available here at City Hall's location at 300 East 9 Mile Road. There's a common email address for folks who are interested. If you could email citymanager@ferndale.mi.gov, that will reach the appropriate person, and the city manager's office will be the home phone office for this. For questions related to this task force, please call 248-546-2360. And Mayor and Council, with that, please. Yes, thank you. And our goal is for a final report to be drafted for presentation to Council in October, which aligns with the city's budget process. That would fit within the context of next year's capital improvement plan update, which covers significant facility needs as well. That should also give us ample opportunity to sync up with the next mid-year budget adjustment and FYE 24 budget, if you can believe we'll be working on 24 next year.
Okay. Thank you for the presentation. Folks who are joining for us, I just want to say this is what I think our third or fourth conversation about a task force. Council had a really good, robust discussion about how to shape the task force at our last meeting in November before the end of the year, and gave guidance on how to structure the task force, what's their focus, what's their end deliverable, how long will they meet, and I think I'll open it up to council questions right now about this process going forward, and if you have any comments or questions at this time. About how we're proceeding.
Through the chair, I have a pretty straightforward question, not so much about who we include, but the timeline.
Okay.
So within the description on this item, it looks like the final report from the task force would be delivered in October of 2022, which essentially means that work on any of these items wouldn't happen until probably mid-year in 2023. Would that be correct? Since we would have to go out to bid and budget for everything? Yes, no?
Yeah, I mean, ostensibly, that's what it would be oriented around.
Okay.
You could do a mid-year adjustment or a quarter-year adjustment at any point in the budget process, should a priority be identified and the funding be identified.
So let me ask a question. Is it possible that with a task force like this, we could have a staggered approach where we have maybe a short-term goal of at least investigating ways to get the Kulik Center open, since it's our one facility that's not currently in use, and then maybe long-term goals after that? Is that possible at all, so that we can get that facility and that use case back online?
I think those would be separate items. I think the Kulik Center would be deemed as operational. If you're talking about getting it available for a certificate of occupancy as it was before the roof collapse, I think that's something that our facilities manager can address with our current consultants and give counsel. I think the long-term question and the investment question should be focused with the task force.
Great.
Great. Yeah, because I think you bring up a great point, is that we still have short-term decisions to make, right? But this is a long-term plan.
Exactly.
And so I just want to make sure that the task force doesn't become a Kulik Center task force versus and maintains the broader thing. But I think council's committed to figuring out what to do with Kulik shorter term, right? With some long-term views.
Yeah, through the chair, we did provide council with an update. Fortunately, the primary repairs that were approved by council in October were just completed, and we passed inspection, which enables our staff to return for a limited certificate of occupancy. So again, that's a limited certificate of occupancy. It does not permit public use. And I'm waiting to get comprehensive information from our building official and fire marshal on what it takes to get certificate of occupancy. And then from that information, I can give council an understanding of what the next steps and what those costs look like.
Yeah, and then what's the risk of failure around them, because it's not a lasting fix. It's a short-term repairs to get us keeping going, right?
Yes, and well, anything in that building that doesn't overhaul the infrastructure would be viewed as a short-term repair.
Yep. And then a reminder, folks, Councilwoman Mikulski and I continue to be on the negotiating team with the school district about the property, and those conversations were robust before the holidays, and I expect them to resume this month and next month going forward. So we're working very hard to find mutually beneficial solutions to the challenges. So, other questions?
Maybe one more if I can sneak one in.
Sure.
So again, we had a resident talk about the Headley and about future tax considerations, and looking back at our past presentation, we did have some of that information in there. Will any of that be included in the discussions to set parameters on what people are interested in pushing forward, or are we still going to let them just be eyes wide open, picking whatever they want for the facilities, coming up with anything without having the overarching aspect of how much money we have and how much money we'll have in the future?
The city manager's office will provide all of that information.
Awesome.
The task force has to understand all within the environment as well.
That's fantastic.
And that presentation is in the packet too for the public. It's in the attachment. I think it's the second attachment.
Great.
Yep. Other questions? If not, we need a motion to proceed.
I've got, I guess through the chair, maybe this is more of a comment than a question, but just sort of looking at the areas of experience and competency. I know we talked about that quite a bit in November, and I will emphasize my understanding, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Joe. Since we're looking for somewhere between 7 and 9 individuals, we list 8 areas of expertise or competencies. I presume that we're not merely sort of checking off a list that, based on interests that we get from members of the public, based on outreach that we do, there may be areas of expertise that emerge that we didn't think of, that we realize would be a fantastic fit, or, and we're going to try and balance these areas out so that we don't have, a bunch of real estate experts, but nobody who knows facilities. We're going to try and find a robust mix of these considerations and open to additional expertise. Is that right?
Yeah, I'd say that's accurate. We really tried to come up with a menu of experience that covers all arrays of the project. To Councilwoman Mikulski's point, you'll see that we're looking for input from a finance perspective, certainly someone who's put together deals before, so construction management perspective, and understands true costs, especially current costs, because it's different today than it was when it's ever been. So someone who understands the supply chain. And then I thought it was a great suggestion. We want also all of the array from that industry. So it's custodial, practical perspective as well. We're looking for that practical perspective. So really we have a good broad brushed, I think, eight competence areas that I hopefully will resonate with the community's talent pool.
I'm also looking for a sustainability background, but really the application will also be looking at, have you volunteered before? What's your involvement in the community? Why do you be on this task force? Because, we're really looking for, our experience with task forces and why cities do task forces is because they help the community wade through a lot of information and give recommendations about what the community can support. They advise council on what the community is most likely going to support. And that's why we do them, honestly. And they give great advice. And, I won't be at those meetings. I'm not going to be influencing the process. I might show up the first one and say hello and thank people, but I'm not going to be there unless I'm invited to be there and there's a purpose for me. But I really want to make sure, and there will be a city council liaison, I believe, and their role is still going to be as an information bringer to council rather than an influencer or a real participant. Which I think we can appoint at the time of when we appoint everybody else, when it comes to council.
One more question through the chair, and this might be for our communications department, but what kind of rollout or call for applications do we have planned or envisioned?
Yes, thanks for that question. So we agreed to launch everything tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock, assuming everything was approved tonight. We have the seamless form already ready so people can apply easily online. What we plan to do is make it available on the website, make sure that we reach out to our local media partners, specifically people like Crystal Proxmeyer and those who have an interest in our local news. And then we're going to do a social media push for it as well. Our social media team, which is Riley, also has a plan for us to do a targeted post on LinkedIn so that even though it's not, a typical kind of job we would post, that we are reaching out to that kind of professional audience and following that we have on there as well. So we'll do that tomorrow morning, and then we'll do a subsequent push about 2 weeks in, a week before the end of the process.
Thank you.
Yep.
Through the chair, kind of bounce off of Councilwoman James's first question and confirmation for me. So while we would prefer people have these 8, someone from, these 8 backgrounds, we're still going to accept applications from anybody. We would encourage everyone to participate because there's no guarantee that we're going to get 8 or 9 people, with all of these various backgrounds.
I think the backgrounds are helpful, but not required. Right?
Preferred, which is the language that is.
Yeah, preferred, but yeah.
So everybody should be, if you're interested, you should fill out and submit an application.
Yeah. If you love talking about HVAC, we want you. So, all right, with that, we need a motion to proceed.
Mayor, I move that we approve the resolution establishing a citizen advisory task force on city facilities as submitted by the city manager.
Support.
Moved by Mikulski and supported by Polika. Madam Clerk.
Councilmember Polika?
Yes.
Councilmember James?
Yes.
Councilmember Mikulski?
Yes.
And Mayor Piana?
Yes. All right, folks, that wraps up our first agenda of the first meeting of the year, and we're moving on call to council with updates from our city manager and our departments, and then we'll move on to city council.
Thank you, Mayor, and Happy New Year to you and to all of the public. Tonight, we will be leading off with Parks and Recreation. Emmanuel, are you available?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Sorry, they had to boot me up to panelists instead of an attendee. How's everybody doing?
Doing great. Good to hear your voice.
All right, so just a quick update from Parks and Recreation. We wanted to let everybody know that registration is now open for a youth soccer program. That program will begin games and practices in April, and registration is filling up very quickly. So anybody that's interested, we would highly encourage you to go to our website and to our registration page and sign up for it there. We're offering leagues from U6 all the way up to U12. And the age or the league that you participate in is based on the year that your child was born in. So there will be a list on the registration page that'll guide you to which league is appropriate for you. Also, for particularly skilled players, if you want to play up in league, let's say you're supposed to be in U8, but you want to play in U10, we also encourage that as well. We want you to be able to get everything out of the program that you possibly can. So if you have any questions or concerns or anything, you can reach out to Lisa Bryant. You can reach her at lbryant@ferndalemi.gov. Thank you.
Thank you, Emmanuel. All of a sudden, I want to be the junior rec Ted Lasso, so I might have to resign. Coach in soccer. Our HR director, Dan Jacey, if you're available. Give him a moment to be elevated on Zoom.
Now you can hear me.
Yes.
Okay, terrific. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight I'd like to start by congratulating our city manager, Joe Gaccio, on 10 years of service to the city.
That's a surprise.
Congratulations and thank you, Joe.
Thank you, Dan.
Yes, congratulations.
Next, I'm going to provide a recruiting and onboarding update. So I have to start by giving a big shout out to Human Resources Manager Justin Jorlando, who handles most of the details for our recruiting and onboarding processes. We have recently hired a police record specialist in her position on January 17th. We are in the process of onboarding 2 firefighters. One started last week, another started today, and then we have 1 more in background. We're going to be opening applications again for firefighters in February, and we're doing that strategically to coincide with paramedic programs in the area. We are also going to be hiring for police officers. We have 2 vacancies to fill. We're going to be taking a different approach to recruiting We're going to have more robust online presence and trying smaller publications throughout Lower Michigan. DPW Deputy Director, our candidate accepted the position. We're currently running a background check and doing the onboarding process for them, and they should start soon. DPW Project Manager, our candidate here also accepted the position, is in the same process of running the background and onboarding process, and they should start middle to late February. We recently hired a CED Planner 2, Kyle Bryce. He started with us on January 3rd, and he came to us from Southfield. And CED Deputy Director, we have 9 viable candidates for this position, and we'll be doing an open house for that position on January 12th. Finally, CED Director, we'll be working with GovHR to complete a national recruitment for this position. And as always, please check the city's website for regularly for current job openings. That's it. Thank you.
I did have a question about our Deputy DPW Director. That wasn't the same as the project. Is that the project manager one?
No, 2 different vacancies.
Okay. But we're in the process of hiring.
We are in the hiring process, yes. We're going through the job offer process right now.
Okay, great. Excellent.
Okay. I kind of lost my place. Next would be our Community and Economic Development Director, Jordan Torty, with an update on Plan Ferndale.
Hey, Jordan. Jordan's.
Under a anonymous name.
Hey everybody, good evening. Apologize. This is what happens when you volunteer during your workday. Apparently your Zoom accounts get messed up and they confuse the assistant city manager. So sorry for the AMBA operations there. By the way, Ferndale's a member of the 8 Mile Boulevard Association, so there you go. CED Director Jordan Twardy here. Just want to throw a shout out there to Plan Ferndale. We started our Thursday office hour drop-in sessions for the public to join us both in the mornings and in the evenings after hours. We're trying to make it accessible to folks with different schedules. So every Thursday in January, you can join us on Zoom at 10:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m., or you can do the evening shift, 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. We had folks show up to both sessions at our first session this past Thursday. We'd love to have you join us. If you would like to get access to the link, we're going to have that posted on planferndale.com. Or you can email CED, that's Cat Edward David, at ferndalemi.gov, and we will get you set up to join us. Thanks so much, and have a great evening.
All right, next we have Chief Robinson.
Well, Happy New Year, everybody. And yes, I'm very excited to say I have 2 new firefighters that started last week and this week, and I have 2 more in process. That's awesome. Thank you to our HR department. But just one quick reminder that is, people are still getting used to, open burn permits all expired December 31st. So if you had previously applied for an open burn permit, it expired December 31st. It is no longer valid. If you want to have a fire pit outside or burn, wood or whatever outside, you have to file for a brand new open burn permit. They are not good forever. They're only good for annual, and that was a change that was made to get back in line with the city ordinance. So if your property is in Ferndale, you have to apply for open burn permit. We've had some residents and businesses alike doing some open burning without permits this year, so I just want to give that friendly reminder so we can ensure everybody's being safe and doing it the way it needs to be done.
Will there be pushes on social media to remind residents about the annual, and do we email them or send the permit holders a notice that they need to renew? Sorry, Chief.
I apologize.
I'll wait till you sit down next time, again.
Yeah.
Let's bring you back.
So, yeah, we will get stuff over to comms again to push out as a reminder, being the new year, and remind people of the process. Anytime we get out of the community, we try to remind people. When we interact with people, we try to, again, start with friendly reminders first before we're trying to do any like disciplinary type of enforcement. We do want to just encourage good things. But we can push out on social media. We have a link on our webpage. We did overhaul the process, make it easier. As people are using the new system, what it'll do is I'll actually email them an automatic reminder every year.
Okay.
So when people apply through the system, which is actually tied into BSNA now, which makes it a lot more convenient for the resident. The old process had a lot of steps, a lot of stuff that wasn't very convenient for them. And now it's very streamlined so they can really control it, do their payment, everything online, which makes it a lot easier. And the system will automatically send them a reminder email every year.
Excellent. I like that it doesn't use a lot of staff time to send out emails. That's important.
Thank you, Chief. We love efficiencies. And I will just close our remarks by reminding the public that City Hall is closed next Monday in observance of Martin Luther King Jr. Day. I don't believe there's any impacts to your public waste services on that day, so please put your waste out as regularly scheduled. And with that, Mayor, I cede it back to you. Thank you.
Thank you. I will move on to call a council, and tonight I'll start on my right side with Councilwoman Mikulski.
I only have one reminder tonight. We have a number of boards and commissions openings on the Accessibility and Inclusion Commission, Arts and Cultural, Beautification, Board of Review, Zoning Appeals, and the Planning Commission, and a few others. So there are a lot of opportunities for residents to get involved. The area on our website where you can find those vacancies would be ferndalemi.gov/resources/boards and commissions, and you can apply right online. So I believe the application period ends on the 15th. So get in those applications if you'd like to be on a board and commission.
Great reminders. Thank you. Councilwoman James.
I don't think I have anything that I want to bore folks with, but thank you.
All right.
Welcome back.
Excellent. Councilwoman Polika.
I got nothing this evening.
Okay. I just wanted to say brief comments about COVID. I know I get the daily emails from Beaumont Hospital with the COVID numbers, and I feel like, and I'm attending a Harvard Bloomberg COVID conversation, which I did pretty much all through 2020, every 2 weeks, to learn how to communicate about COVID. And they're reconvening mayors across the United States to talk about Omicron, because there just seems to be a shift. It's not about the quantity of cases, but it's about the severity of cases. And so how are we communicating about the shifts as we enter year 3? Yes, unbelievable. And just wanted to remind people that wearing masks is still the safest way to keep yourself and family safe, as well as everybody around you. I know more people with COVID right now than I did last year at this time, or at the peak of 2021, which our last peak was, I believe, April or May, and we have more hospitalizations now at Beaumont than they did at the third peak of this pandemic wave. So just a reminder that council, I know everybody on council is taking precautions for their personal safety, and just encourage everyone to continue to do the same, because it's up to us to get out of this by more people getting vaccinated and stopping the spread of all the different variants and mutations of the pandemic. And I wish my wish for 2022 is to see the faces of my council members at the dais, because we literally only had 3 meetings in 2020, and we have been experiencing each other with masks, and that's my wish for 2022 on City Council, and for us to be free of this pandemic. But it's up to us to do it. So that is my mantra for tonight. Be safe, wear your mask, and get vaccinated. All right, with that, it is 8:26 and the first meeting of the year is concluded. I think it's going to be a great year.